What's going on YouTube? It's Ferg Tactical, and we are back with another video today to talk about where you can and can't legally carry a firearm here in Florida. I recently did a video on Florida's open carry ban being overturned. A lot of people wanted me to cover this topic, so let's get into it. On a side note, even though I understand why a lot of people are against the whole CCW license and having to pay the government to exercise your rights, I'm a big advocate of still suggesting people go get that. I recently became a firearms instructor, so now I can offer these classes to people, and I do to my friends. But the reason why I advocate for this is because if you have no firearms experience, this is a great foot in the door to be able to build off of. You at least learn how to use a gun, you get to shoot a gun in the class, and you also get to learn where you can and can't carry the firearm. It also teaches you the legal side of things of, you know, when you should and shouldn't use your firearm. I run into people who now have never done any of these things or learned any of these things, and they think it's the wild, wild west, and it's not, you know. That's just the truth of the matter. But this is why, you know, I'm here, everyone is here. Our job is to educate the people who don't know any better. So let's get into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read exactly from the Florida state statutes, and I'm going to tell you where you can go to do this research on your own. If you want, you can print it out. You can have it with you so you know where and where you cannot carry. It is a lot of places, but you just kind of follow the same fundamental rules. Here in Florida, you'll be okay. But I'm going to lay it out for you and explain where you can and can't carry. There are quite a few, so it's just easier to read off. So the part of the Florida state statutes I'm going to be reading from is going to be 790.06, section 12, letter A. So if you want to have this and go read it later, you can look that up and it'll take you directly to it. It is also on the Florida Department of Agriculture website. If you go to the part about the concealed carry licenses and things, it'll give you to click on the link to take you directly to it. So before we get into the video, I had a couple things I did want to clear up before we get into me reading that. So for number one, people kept bringing up the aspect of, oh, but now we have permitless carry, so it doesn't matter that, you know, I can't carry in the school zone because we have permitless carry. That is not the case. If you do not have a concealed carry license, it is a federal crime to carry within 1,000 feet of any school. So in 1990, the Gun-Free School Zone Act was put in place that prevents people without a license from being able to carry on their person within 1,000 feet of a school. That is a federal crime, class 3 felony. That is one reason I still also advocate for people to get a concealed carry weapons license here in the state of Florida. Or anywhere, really. You learn stuff, but it also protects you from that. Because if you get somebody who wants to push the issue in law enforcement, they can. For example, if you're going through a school zone, you get stopped. Oh, man. Oh, you're carrying a firearm on your person? Oh, you don't have a license? Okay, now we can push that issue, right? State laws do not trump federal laws. So that law is still in place regardless of what permitless carry is in place. Been trying to tell people this, but people are still trying to argue it. That is not the case. Now, in the state of Florida, the no weapons allowed signs have no force of law. So if you're concealed and they don't see it, you can go in as long as it's not a place that you're prohibited from carrying legally. But if they discover that you're carrying and they ask you to leave, you have to leave with no fight. Businesses do reserve the right to be able to kick you out for carrying a weapon. So just because, yes, the Constitution may say that you have the right to keep and bear arms, the businesses do reserve the right to allow you not to come into their establishment while keeping and bearing those arms. And if you feel offended by that, just don't shop there, don't spend money, and take your business elsewhere. So in some states, as long as the signs are a certain size and in a certain placement, they do have force of law, but Florida is not one of those states. So people keep saying, oh, well, the signs have force of law here. They don't. So as long as the place is not a prohibited area, you can carry into that establishment. Number one is a place of nuisance. So essentially what that means is, like, say, like, if you're in an area where a gang is hanging out or a place where prostitution is going on, they have more explanation for this in the Florida state statutes. You can find it under 823.05, but just to give you a few examples: a house or place of prostitution, assignation, or lewdness, a place or building in which persons engage in games of chance in violation of law, like legal gambling, things of that sort. Essentially, you cannot lawfully carry a firearm while engaged in or around a place that you know is doing some funny business. There's other places like massage parlors that violate certain things, if you get what I'm saying. Just don't carry in places where you know that they're doing illegal activities. Again, you can go to that particular section and get more clarity on that. I'm not going to read everything. Maybe I'll put a picture of it on the screen or something so you guys can see. Number two is any police, sheriff, or highway patrol station. So essentially any police station you can't carry. And even if, say, it's a city center for your particular county or city, whatever, you can't go into that with a firearm if that is a place where it's attached to a police department. You can't go. You can't carry into a detention facility, be it prison, jail, whatever, for obvious reasons. Courthouses are another places that you cannot carry, obvious reasons. It's a government building. When I was in Washington State getting my CPL over there, they actually informed me that if I let them know before I got through the metal detector, like, hey, I have my concealed carry firearm on me, I have a license, they would let me take it off, and they will let me put it up in a locker and get it back. So that's something I have to inquire about here in my local courthouse to see if that's a possibility, because I do know a lot of people do take the metro rail to get downtown. They have questioned about that before. I don't know if that's a service that they offer here at the courthouse. I have to call and ask because I'm curious. But yeah, you can't carry into the courthouse. So if they have somewhere to lock it up, which may be a possibility, I'll look and I will let you guys know later on. That aside, even if that is the case, you cannot carry into the courthouse. So please don't try to carry your gun into a courthouse. Even if you have a license, you feel like, yeah, permitless carry, open carry, all that, do not walk into a courthouse with a gun, please. If you do, make sure you get confirmation first that they have somewhere for you to lock your firearm up and they're okay with that. So call it. Next up would be the courtroom, obviously in a courthouse. So if you can't go into a courthouse, you can't go into a courtroom. Only certain people can, obviously, like the bailiff, whatnot, but you as a regular citizen cannot carry into a courtroom. Next up is a polling place. So if you're going to go vote, you cannot carry a firearm. I do understand some people feel threatened. I do understand that political violence is a thing on both sides of the spectrum. So yeah, some people want to carry for that, and some people also want to carry to intimidate. But yeah, in the state of Florida, you cannot go to vote with a firearm on your person. Next up is any meeting of government body. So that is including everything from county, public school district, municipality, or special district. Any meeting of legislator or a committee thereof. So any legislator meeting you cannot carry into. The next one is going to be any school, any college, or any professional sporting event. If it's not geared towards firearms, you cannot carry a firearm there. Any elementary or secondary school facility, administration building as well. So obviously you cannot carry your gun in the state of Florida on a school premises. Some states allow this, but in Florida you cannot. Any career center, so you cannot carry into a career center. You also cannot carry anywhere that they serve alcohol at. So like you can't walk through a bar if you have a gun on you, right? So you need to walk around the bar, try not to get close to the bar. You cannot walk through a bar if you're carrying a firearm. You also cannot sit at the bar if you're carrying a firearm. And if the establishment's sole purpose is to sell alcohol, you cannot carry a firearm, which typically rules out like clubs and nightclubs and things of the sort, because their primary income aside from you walking in the door is by selling drinks. You can't carry through a bar, you can't sit at a bar, and you cannot carry at a place that is predominantly selling alcohol and making most of their money off of the alcohol they're selling. You also can't carry on a college or university. However, if you are a student or a faculty member there or some form of employee, you can carry some form of defensive weapon, but it can't be lethal. It has to be a non-lethal option. It does outline it more in the Florida statutes. I'll put that on the screen as well. As I'm reading them, I'll try to just have them there so that way you guys can see what it says fully. You can't carry into an airport. So yes, you can fly with a firearm. I actually did a very extensive video of myself doing it and everything I used to do so. I'll put that up top. You can carry into an airport. It's in a bag locked up and everything, and you have it properly stored to be able to go on the plane. But just to regularly have the gun on your person going into an airport, you cannot do that here in the state of Florida. So if you're picking somebody up on the outside, that's fine, but once you walk into that airport with the firearm on your person, you are breaking a law. It doesn't matter if you have a CCW or whatever, you cannot walk into the airport with a firearm on your person. And lastly, you cannot carry a firearm anywhere that is federally prohibited. This goes back to what I was saying before, that state laws don't trump federal laws. Federal laws are here, state laws may add to them, but no state law will overturn a federal law. So you still need to abide by federal laws. So keep that in mind when you're carrying a firearm, that you need to be on your P's and Q's. You need to know where and where you can't carry a firearm at. One thing I do want to add though in the Florida statutes is your employer legally cannot keep you from having a firearm in your vehicle. Letter C, and you click on 790.251. It essentially has the protections and rights of us as people under different employers and other things in it too, if you guys want to read through it. But basically what it does is it grants us the right to be able to keep a firearm in our vehicle for lawful purposes in the parking lot, and our employers can't stop that, nor can they stop customers from doing that. So read through all of that. You know, it's good to know what you can and can't do legally. Don't let somebody tell you what's legal and what's not. You need to learn for yourself, look it up, do research, because at the end of the day, this is your life that is in your hands. So don't just take somebody's word for it. Don't just take my word for it. I want you to go and read through all of this so that way you can know, like, hey, yeah, this is actually what it is. Ignorance of the law is not going to save you in court. Just because you didn't know doesn't mean you won't get charged. It's on you to do your due diligence to know the law and know what you can and can't do. You need to be a responsible gun owner and responsible with the firearm. So that goes into knowing how to use the gun, knowing how to carry it properly, knowing where you can and can't carry it properly, and just storing it properly. All of that goes into being a responsible gun owner. So it's in your hands. If you guys have any more questions, please drop them in the comments. Let me know if I didn't cover anything, or I'll try to answer your questions if possible. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.